There's a huge new FPS on the scene.
Well, 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 this is an interesting one. Somebody is trying to take on Call of Duty.
Well, that's not hard. The only thing that can kill Call of Duty is Call of Duty, which it has done in spades.
In this case, it's Ubisoft, but we also know that even the likes of Sony are kind of trying to do that. I mean, hey, Microsoft tried to make...
Honestly, it's not that tough, dude. It really is not tough.
Crossfire X a thing. Didn't really work out, did it? As for Sony, they actually have a currently rather embattled X-Treyarch team working and stuff. They have a whole bunch of free-to-play teams. Now we have Ubisoft throwing their hat into the ring with X-Defiant, a game that is actually catching on. Yeah, it is, because in many ways, it is what a lot of people want. And the important...
And of course, X-Defiant is going to try to lean into the whole esports thing.
Context here is that Call of Duty right now does appear to be facing some retention issues with its most recent games, especially with Warzone 2 and it taking a few controversial moves. So let's take a look then at this apparent spiritual successor to a certain era of Call of Duty that many of us very much enjoyed. Now, the first thing that we've just got to get out of the way is what's happened and why are we talking about this. So, for the Twitch numbers, we've got to acknowledge that Ubisoft have been giving away beta keys via Twitch drops, right? And these are Twitch drops happening in the channels of FPS pros who have got beta access, which humongously artificially inflates viewership. That is what the whole Twitch drop marketing meta does.
Yeah, that's
also,
fine.
there were some technical issues that made the beta at times unplayable. All of these factors, though, contributed to a pretty damn healthy-looking viewership on streaming services.
This is just all marketing, more or less. Like, if the game wants to put in, like, Twitch drops or whatever to try to boost its, like, visibility in the beginning, like, I think that's fine.
Of course, how much of that translates to reality, it's pretty hard to say. Now, the thing is, what does X-Defiant have to offer? Because to a lot of people, just like, oh, another thing off
What kind of anti-cheat does it have?
the Ubisoft factory line, blah, blah, who cares? Actually, no. It does have things to offer. They are emulating classic design choices for the multiplayer maps and weapons from a certain era of Call of Duty.
A certain era of Call of Duty. That is the most polite way of saying we're going back.
Thinking like between your COD 4s to, maybe, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years past that, right? They're talking about having continuous lobbies between matches with set game modes. Something a lot of people miss. No skill-based matchmaking in...
No skill-based matchmaking? That's illegal. You can't do that. I need to have skill-based matchmaking. I was going to say skill-based matchmaking. I need SBMM. I need my matches to be sweaty.
Casual. Now, this is something that was in COD 4. Perhaps it just wasn't as tightly bound as it is right now. But for a lot of people, look, they want to be able to pub stomp. And in the newer COD games, it's harder to pub stomp.
You know what's funny? If you're like anywhere like above average, you just develop the ego of thinking that you can pub stomp eventually, which is so funny.
Because if you pub stomp, skill-based matchmaking will make you play against other pub stompers, and you're not going to pub stomp each other because you're at a pretty similar level of skill. To a lot of people, this turns it into a very, like...
Does this game have a, like, ranked mode or something, like a ladder or whatever? I understand this, like, came out, like, a little while ago or whatever, like the beta. I don't know if there was, like, a rank ladder. I mean, why would there be? It's a beta, you know? I don't care about that shit. But, like, it's kind of easy. Just put a ranked mode and a pub mode or whatever.
Like, sweaty, not enjoyable form of default game experience, which has its pros and its cons. It's one of those things, if you look at some data, skill-based matchmaking actually does help by the data, but I suppose another side of that is to a lot of people, they maybe don't feel much of a sense of skill progression as they get better and better and better, because as they get better, they're matched up with people who are also just getting better to the point where it's just a very...
Everything is 50-50 down the line, you know? But unlike in real sports, in real life, well, I don't know. I was gonna compare it to like real sports, because like if you start playing a sport when you're a little kid or whatever, and you just like constantly progress or whatever, you know, as you get older, it's like, does life has skill-based matchmaking? Because if you like doing, like, let's say basketball, and you know, you start doing it in like whatever age, then you start doing it in middle school, then in high school, then you know, those people are getting better and better. And then maybe you go into collegiate basketball or whatever. Those guys are better, but you're also better than you were the last couple years. And then once you hit collegiate, then there's like, I don't know, are there like divisions, and then it's like the NBA or whatever? I'm not exactly sure. But is that the same? Is skill-based matchmaking supposed to like simulate like real life progression? Well, there's no fucking way that that'd be even like feasible, because like that happens over years. Like with real sports, skill-based matchmaking happens over a game's lifespan, which is like, what, a year or two? Especially since it started with COD or whatever.
Static feeling game experience, right? So there's that. There is a hidden MMR for balancing teams between rounds, though. Also, input-based matchmaking. So if you're a console player, you don't have to worry about that PC player with a sniper rifle who's just going to delete you. And if you're a PC player, you don't have to worry about aim assist getting you killed.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. How are tournaments going to work? Is it going to be like the controller player side, now the MK side? That's going to be weird. I am kind of curious for X Defiant. Am I even saying this right? X Defiant, or is it just Defiant?
Which certainly, if you look at Halo, that has been quite the debate.
Yeah, because for Halo started with like super strong aim assist, and was pretty much, you know, everybody played Halo on the Xbox. It's a controller game. Halo is a controller game. For whatever the Halo, like, they dropped with the multiplayer where you could do like PC only like M&K stuff versus like, I don't know, like controller only like matchmaking. And then all of a sudden they came out with like the stats of like a, what was it, a line and dot graph of whatever, with all the like the accuracies of the inputs, and it's like even like the outliers of M and K were just scraping like maybe even the middle of like the accuracy of a controller or whatever. So, and besides, like, I think it's all gonna depend on like how tournaments are gonna run or whatever, because I think for Halo, most tournaments are ran on PC with a controller, and it's whatever input you want. And I think almost all Halo pros are controller players. And if that's how they do with X Defiant, it's only going to turn out the same way as Halo, I think. I'm just guessing, just based off of precedence or whatever. Halo's a controller game. If they're going to have like a tournament where it's like, it's on PC and you can choose your own input, if there is an input that is just leagues better than the other one, that scene is going to be dominated by that input. And I don't know. We'll see.
But it basically means if you were growing up in like COD, you know, Modern Warfare, maybe Modern Warfare 2, then perhaps you're going to be liking this. And one of those reasons is Mark Rubin, who's the executive producer of this game. He was also executive producer over on a bunch of those Call of Duties. And he's been very public, you know, talking about things with this game. Very much saying, this is a game based on what you want, not what the analytics are pointing towards. And that is the interesting thing, because here's what's going on. Sometimes...
Okay, so the devs are actually listening to the the FPS base, and they're doing what they want. All right, so this is going to be interesting.
Analytics are self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
It's like the numbers that you generate are because of the design decisions that you made. So the numbers that you generate they're already kind of pigeonholed a bit. Then you have that thing where, yeah, followers follow the numbers. Creators create new numbers. So if you're always just following the numbers, maybe you're not going to be making those big, interesting, creative decisions that really, change the game. Yeah. I think that's something a lot of people don't think enough about. Another side of this is just locking in collaborations with a lot of notable, current and former COD sort of like community figureheads who are also on board promoting this game. And when you take a look, a lot of the tweets, it's just like features that I want to play.
So this, just right off the rip, just tells me, since they're using a lot of Call of Duty professionals, the entire Call of Duty competitive scene is on controller. So most likely this is if I was going back to what I said before, if it's going to be ran on PC, but choose your own input, then it kind of seems like it's going to be another controller game. So we'll see.
No skill-based matchmaking, ranked mode being there from launch, lobby staying together, red dots and minimaps, map voting, just to name a few. Hint, I'm making that game. He's just being very open about just tweeting to a lot of things that core FPS players have been complaining about with some of the modern entries that they've been.
I'm kind of curious what Bellular means by core FPS players. He's probably referencing the Halo and Call of Duty pros, most likely. It's just an is what it is thing. Most people in general play their FPSs on controller versus M&K because M&K takes a little bit of time to learn. But yeah.
Presented with. And that's the thing that's noteworthy, because to a lot of people who play these games, they don't feel like they're being listened to. They feel like, Activision's following the analytics, but that is not always leading to an experience that they want, as as evidenced by a lot of the issues that modern COD has had. And very much unlike the Activision monolith, we're seeing far more open development and close collaboration with, in some cases, respected community members. Here we even have, as an example, the 2022 Insider Session Roadmap. It's you're going to ingratiate yourself towards people if you're making your game like that. So the question then is, how do FPS players think about it? Well, by default, it was a lot of, Ubisoft slop, don't care. But I think as people have played it more and more and more, I'm beginning to see people just say, oh yeah, no, this game's legit. This is not a knockoff of COD. This is COD's origins, as I said here. But
and I think that's fine, because it was a beta that got dropped, If these guys are actually doing what they say they're doing and listening to the community, I think that's fine. That's just going to take a couple patches, bug fixes, whatever, to clean up little nooks and crannies that make the gameplay feel good.
I am Robert Bowling, who of course a lot of people in and around COD, will know, right? He was the original Modern Warfare creative strategist and community manager,
Oh, come on. Play X Defiant is legit. It's not a knockoff what COD is. It's a refinement of what Call of Duty was. I mean, it's pretty much, this is semantics. It's COD made a choice to move away from its roots and origins. It's from an arcade shooter to an arcade shooter with a battle pass. Who gives a shit? It's expanded to be an everything shooter. Okay. X Defiant knows what it is, and it does well. Okay, sure. And he was replying to this dude down here. Defiant is to COD what Splitgate was to Halo. I think that's a fair statement. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, Splitgate kind of felt floaty, like what Halo was, and then X Defiant is a boots on the ground, kind of speedy, like mid time to kill like shooter, a shitty generic knockoff that will die in a few weeks, months. Good night. Well, who knows? Actually, currently, like all FPS players are starving for an FPS game, is what I think. You know, you had that Overwatch 2 PvE like sunset thing that like they're not doing the PvE anymore. So like there's some people that are pissed, some people that don't give a shit. So Overwatch stonks going down, but the scene's still there. Um, Val is still up, but that's a very specific style of shooter where it's just like static, don't move, move, shoot, click, whatever. Same thing with CS. So you got Val and CS that are still like thriving. As far as like, and when I say thriving, I mean both the comp scene and like probably the casual scene is like they're doing good, more or less. Call of Duty like competitive is probably like doing what it is or whatever. I'm not too sure. I don't really watch Call of Duty tournaments. But I know like the casual scene is like in the dirt, so I can't really make anything positive there. What else? Apex is pretty much a controller game at this point. And currently there's a good chunk of people that are like just in master, and like predators are just hunting down lobbies and like dropping 20 bombs in like ranked games. So Apex is like meh. And this is all as far as like multiplayer shooters. Like there's a lot of like single player or roguelike shooters, FPSs, or oh yeah, there's Fortnite. I forgot that. Fortnite is probably, I don't watch Fortnite at all. I don't know. I would imagine it's doing fine, about the same. What else? Yeah, there's a lot of like really good like FPSs that are just like single player and have like great stories. They are really awesome. But as far as like competitive multiplayers, it's like ugh.
So like, if your game's impressing that guy and you want to go for the COD 4 audience, that's a pretty damn good thing. I actually saw Bulkhead Interactive's head, Joe Brammer, pretty much saying, oh, sweet, is this somebody taking on the pro mod mantle? That's what you want to hear? Of course, the question is, how many people is that going to appeal to versus a Call of Duty that, has been following the analytics? That being said, not that helped them too much with Warzone 2. And when you go through what they're actually targeting, to me, it's more interesting, right? A 6v6 competitive shooter based around map knowledge, movement, and gunplay with minimum bells and whistles around the side. Now,
okay, this is a 6v6 comm shooter based around map knowledge, movement, and gunplay. So, map knowledge, what does that mean? Are they doing like the old Call of Duty, like 3-lane thing? Movement and gunplay. I thought the movement was fine. I thought the gunplay felt fine from like what most people were saying or whatever. I mean, I didn't play the beta, but from what I saw, most of it looked pretty good with minimum of bells and whistles around the side. Okay. That's what these folks want. Though, as concessions to the modern audience, character abilities and skins are a requirement. Concession to the modern audience. What? Okay. Concession to the modern audience. Character abilities, okay, and skins are a requirement. So, unequal. Skins, battle passes, pay. I mean, this is all gonna be like cosmetics. This is fine. There's no big deal. There's no like pay to win aspect, and while a middle ground has been found between modern COD weapon customization and classic COD. Oh, you can customize your weapons? That's pretty cool. Yeah.
It is a modern game, so there are character abilities. There are skins.
And that's not to say it's like, oh my god, we're making a modern competitive shooter. We have to have abilities? Like I remember the days, like back in the day, like Halo 1 or Halo 2, or I don't know, the early CODs, where all you had was the gun and maybe a grenade. And that's all you had. And you know, for like the PC bros, it was just CS. What's wrong with just guns and grenades? So, like, why do you think CS and Val are like doing like so great in the competitive scene, and have like I think like CS and Valorant have a really good shot at like making it into the Olympics, even though I don't play either of those games, but they represent like the core, well, not the core, but like they represent what like a good, healthy, competitive like FPS scene is, or whatever, you know? It's like when you start adding abilities, you start to imply things like visual clutter, like, oh, if that guy didn't have that ability, I would have been fine or whatever. So it's just like when he says like concession to a modern audience, I don't know.
Right, but somewhat of a middle ground between the modern COD turbo customization and the classic COD, right? That is essentially what they want to be going for. Broadly speaking, what I'm hearing is for the people that it's actually targeted at, they're having a great time. There are some issues because it's beta, but it is actually being perceived as a game that is made for that audience, that a lot of that audience is actually enjoying. Now, look, a beta is a beta. As an example, Cornel on our team who's editing this video, I remember he played one of the earlier sessions of it and, you know, initially kind of bounced off it because a particular gun, you know, its sound wasn't that good, but then he swapped to...
Bro, there was just... Let me go back.
Video. I remember he played...
There's like so much visual clutter.
One of the earlier sessions of it and, you know, initially kind of bounced...
Like, imagine if there's a dude about to pop through this door. You have this thing in the way, this time extension thing, this little circle, this little whatever thing in the way. I mean, I understand like these need to be there, but you know, there's going to be like some transparency stuff or opaqueness or whatever. And it's like, Jesus, what if a dude was like right here? Just, whoop. Oh, you didn't see me. Your kill streak was in the way.
Bounced off it because a particular gun, you know, its sound wasn't that good, but then he swapped to, I think it was basically to an intervention, and suddenly, oh, hang on a second, this actually feels more like the kind of game that I remember playing.
Yeah, can you get this bullshit out of the way and this hold breath like lower or something? Like, why does that have to be in like 2 centimeters off of like the center of your crosshair? Like, what?
Playing. It's like if you're saying that to people who enjoy playing COD, you know, Modern Warfare 2, zipping around the place with an intervention, you're going to make quite a few people happy. And that really is the group that this game is for, the people who are not really enjoying current modern Call of Duty. And really that, you know, that thing, it's like when they're playing Call of Duty, they're like, okay, I'm buying into this big blended business strategy between Warzone and a COD every year. Those CODs every year have chopped and changed. Some of them have been great. Some of them have been less great. I know a lot of people, I think it was a lot of the pros really enjoyed Black Ops.
Yeah, like you remember that graph for like World of Warcraft where it was like classic, boom, TBC, boom, Wrath, boom. And then what was after Wrath? Kata? Like, meh? Started to go down. And then whatever after was Kata. I'm going to make a comparison to COD around that same time. Like Kata. And then it's, for the most part, year on year, it's been like down stonks. Like, just down. Just, woo!
Ops Cold War. Plenty of the people who loved Modern Warfare 2019 did not enjoy Black Ops Cold War. All this sort of flipping about ended up not working for quite a few people. You've got Warzone 2, which has alienated quite a lot of people. And you've got skill-based matchmaking. One of those things where the data points towards skill-based matchmaking looking like a good thing, yet a lot of people who are playing games with skill-based matchmaking continuously find it to be quite annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. So like on a bell curve, like whatever, you have the center, and then like one side is like the people that are like not good at the game, and then on the other side it's like people that are like halfway decent at the game. SBMMM sucks for the half of the people that are like decent at the game. For the other side, it's fantastic.
Is definitely something that like a lot of streamers will have been setting the tone for. They were the people who would, I remember back when I was watching like FPS commentary videos back in the day, they'd be getting 50 kills, 1 death, 50 kills, no deaths, because they're amazing, because they're pub stomping. Now in reality, there has been skill-based matchmaking in almost all of these games for a long time. I would maybe posit, though, that it's just the tightness of that skill-based matchmaking. I think some of the newer incarnations are really aggressive with just how they do matchmaking. Like, they really do get groups together pretty damn tight. It's also one of those things, people are just so much more aware of it going on. There are other criticisms, though, ones that I think...
Bro, what if they put skill-based matchmaking in like MMOs? You know, what if you had like a rank ladder in like MMOs? I think it would be like make people stop bitching and complaining about, oh, this guy sucks, you're the problem, you should just leave, blah blah blah. You know, what if they just added skill-based matchmaking to like dungeons in WoW or like mythics? Like, okay, I'm queuing up for like a mythic 15. I'm like diamond. I'm looking for a diamond healer, a diamond tank, and 2 diamond DPSs. All right, let's go. Let's run it. Or whatever.
I think are maybe more rock solid to make, like the loss of lobbies. The pushing of the algorithms, meaning that you're never really shifting like from an average play experience. It's harder to have great and terrible matches when everybody is broadly the same level. But then XDefiant is marketing itself as not being that, which could then mean that the shooter experience with more ups and downs in terms of the matches that you're playing, that might actually be the experience that a lot of people prefer, that they actually enjoy more. They want more variation between those maps. I mean, to look at this tweet, this captures a lot of it. Playing XDefiant, having no skill-based matchmaking in public matches feels so refreshing. It feels organic. Each game has variety, never quite feels the same. Refreshing to not feel like I'm a victim to an algorithm that punishes me for playing well.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, so this is Strafe. I think that's how you say his name. Strafe. This guy is like really good, all right? So if he's really good, he would have fallen on the side of that little bell curve that I mentioned earlier, on the side that's like, hey, he's pretty good at the game. So if you're pretty good at the game, like I said earlier, then if you're playing a game that has SBMM, I can't even say it right, skill-based matchmaking in it, then he's going to suffer. All right? But now, all of a sudden, you put him into like a game or a lobby where there's no skill-based matchmaking. Oh my god, I can shit on everybody. Whoa! This is like not hard to see.
To not feel like I'm a victim to an algorithm that punishes me for playing well. And that is one of the things. Like, you can have skill-based matchmaking, but it's how wide is the bracket? Whereas if the bracket's like, really, really tight, then it's always going to feel like, oh, I got better, but I'm not doing better.
Okay. Skill-based matchmaking is fine for ranked modes and not fine for public matches. There.
To a lot of people, that's just not satisfying. That's a problem for modern Call of Duty, right? Something that Ubisoft is actually really thinking that they can fight. Now, that being said, with heavily skill-based movement and all of that, like, yeah, get ready to be stomped on if you're playing it pretty casually. All right, so it's just all part of the experience. And I think one of those big questions will be, how much of that, like, very broad casual audience will actually make it in here. Of course, one of the big questions is going to be, to that very broad casual audience, like, the people who are going to get stomped in this...
Well, if the game is being peddled as a controller game, because there's a lot of comparisons to Call of Duty, then it shouldn't be that hard for the casual audience.
Stomp. What's going on? How's it going to be for them? I mean, here's somebody saying like, this is how I know XDefiant's on the right track. And the person they're quoting is a Redditor saying, everyone is a bullet sponge for me, while others just one-shot me more often than not. Not sure if it's a connection thing. Getting tired of playing against mouse and keyboard while it appears that aim assist simply doesn't work. Has huge potential. Would be a shame if it went down the super nerd road again that ignores casual gamers who don't want to spend thousands of hours to practice a video game.
Then play a different game. Not every game has to cater to you. All right? Like, Final Fantasy players don't have to cater to World of Warcraft players. Similarly, like, the developers for Counter-Strike like don't have to appeal to someone that plays like Apex or Halo, all right? Because that's not their target audience. Yes, both of those like games in both examples have like a casual side, but you know, there's like a skill curve that you can like grow with for that game.
This is how I know XDefiant is on the right track. So like, that's one side of things. The other side of things is like this. Let's take...
And also, FPS people are just getting better as time goes on, all right? Just deal with it. In general, I would say the skill of like FPS players is just going up, all right?
Take a look at an example of movement here. I mean, do you remember looking at the big kill videos back in the day and seeing some of the movement people are pulling off? Like, this looks like that, you know? And I mean, to me, this looks like hell yeah, super fun.
Jesus.
To a lot of people, though, they're going to prefer a Modern Warfare 19 to this kind of, to this kind of pick.
So this looks like an outlier type of clip, and it looks like it's on M&K. I guarantee you, not every M&K player is going to be doing bullshit like this, all right? So, yeah, this is an outlier.
Base, right? I'm very glad, though, that this game exists, that it's trying to do this. And it's one of those things, it is appealing to a lot of those who set the tone of...
Or maybe I could just be wrong, and it's a high-sense controller person doing that. I have no idea.
Discussion within the shooter space, like, you know, the streamers, the YouTubers, that will undoubtedly have a sort of trickling down effect on their audience, because as much as, you know, there's the games that we play, there's also the cultural dimension. The cultural dimension will really impact what people actually want and how they process the game mechanics that they see. So I do think that a lot of people are going to be primed to see this as a really like a potentially very positive return to form. Now, the one thing, this is what Mark Rubin has said, is that this is made by a small team inside Ubisoft, that they do not have like big giga money, right? So
what's big giga money though? I think there was a video I watched like a couple days ago or whatever, where it was like for like AAA games, like big boy money is anywhere from like 80 to like, I don't know, $800 million just to create a game. So I would imagine like upwards of like, I don't know, 200 or 300 million is like big giga money. What he's like trying to, you know, talk about, but like maybe they got some money.
Oh, really for them, like they're focusing on the gameplay, they're focusing on that really tight feedback loop, but essentially not to expect.
And please, God, use any brain for your anti-cheat. Please use any brain.
Like the production value, of a Call of Duty, which I think is fine for so many people. They don't care however many $1 million were spent on the Call of Duty campaign. That is, I don't know, like a 4 to 5 hour long, very expensive action movie. The bit that they want is a fun multiplayer competitive shooter with, movement mechanics that honestly you could say you can cheese a bit and do absolutely loopy shit. Which, of course, playing COD 4, playing COD 2, doing the maximal exploitation of every little bit of geometry in a map. It's something that I know well. Not that I was ever remotely good at pro mod, to be very clear. Then another side of this, I think, is Ubisoft definitely being hungry for a win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's something funny. Here's the roadmap for Rainbow Six Extraction. Ubisoft original.
Bro, what happened? Weren't they making like a Splinter Cell or something? What happened to that? I would buy that up on day one. I am a sucker for some Splinter Cell, dude.
Now, if you didn't know, you'd probably think, wow, look at these cycles. Well, actually, this is just a rerun. Yeah, this is a rerun of another year. They evidently did not view it, really being, worth doing. Now, they do have games like The Club, For Honor, Rainbow Six Siege. They're just quietly working away with their consistent, great content cadence. But the likes of Extraction, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, it just doesn't, the work is not justified to just keep those updates going. You've got the likes of, Hyperscape. It had high skill ceiling, pretty dwindling player numbers, ended up being pulled, right? Whereas if you look at this with XDefiant, like, it was kind of laughed at the start, but they are sticking with it. And now we're actually seeing Ubisoft with a lot of people who are really jazzed about their game. Like, I have noticed it, and I know this might sound weird, but I played World of Warcraft over here, and then I rotated my chair to my TV, and I would be playing COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1.
What a baller for Bellular to be doing that. Freaking goat.
Like, that's what it was when I was growing up. So I look at XDefiant, it in many ways does appeal to me pretty damn greatly, and I can see why. It's just going to be that question of, how big is that audience really? Because a lot of us, we've grown up. Many people have found voices on Twitch. But I suppose for that younger audience, what are they going to think? Will they enjoy the type of game that we all played over a decade ago? Not to surprise.
I mean, it's not like those games are completely gone. The games are still there. Bellular, you don't have to make it seem like, oh, they're gone forever. But yeah, it's, taking those old games and reskinning it and giving it a shiny new layer and then like repackaging it. Yeah, that helps for the modern audience.
But 2007 and 2009, kind of a long time ago. Or was it 2010 for Modern Warfare 2? Anyway, I think you get the point. So I think this is interesting. This is an example of Ubisoft actually managing to not pull an Ubisoft. Because the one thing you'd always hear us criticize them for is just like doing a gameplay entry in a genre. And you're just like, feels uninspired and boring. Whereas here, yes, this is another shooter, but it's one that feels targeted at people who really want that type of game, who don't feel like they're getting it anymore. That's good, that's different to some of what we've seen, like, with your Ghost Recon Breakpoint, just trying to go a little bit more Division with its RPG elements. And you're like, what? Who are you making this for? This isn't for Ghost Recon fans. Whereas with this is a game they're making that is definitely for someone. So, honestly, as much as it's all fun to laugh at Ubisoft, I'm here for it, and I wish them the best with this one. I hope it ends up being good, because that's a type of shooter that I think really, could have a good place in the market. So let me know. Did you play it? What did you think? I'll see you next time.
All right. A little XDefiant breakdown. I dig it. I'm curious to see where XDefiant goes. Like, if there's another beta or whatever, if they're gonna do another one, or maybe they'll do an open beta or something. Like, I'll give it a shot when it drops or whatever, for sure. Yeah, I'll be hungry to feel it out. I mean, because like, I do all this fucking like aim training that nobody sees or whatever, because I'm like not good enough. But like, I'm not complete shit, and it'll be fun to see like how far I've come to, show up on a game that, I used to play, or, similar mechanics, so on and so forth. But, overall, seems pretty good. Can't wait to see it. And that's pretty much it. Good shit, Bellular. Keep it up, dude. See ya.